When some of my students hear me say words like 这儿,那儿,男孩 or 女孩, they often ask me, are you speaking Beijing dialect? The short answer is no. This is one of the most common misunderstandings about Mandarin. Many learners and even many native Chinese speakers from southern China think that the suffix or 话音 is just a feature of Beijing speech. But that is not quite right. In this video, I'll explain what 话音 really is, how it works in standard Mandarin, how to pronounce it, and when you should not use it. First off, 话音 is not simply a dialect feature. It is a part of standard Mandarin pronunciation. In Chinese, we often write it with the character and sometimes we don't write it. But in pronunciation, doesn't normally become a full extra syllable. Instead, it works like a suffix attached to the previous syllable. For example, 小孩 is not pronounced as 小孩儿 with two separate sounds at the end. It is pronounced as one merged syllable, 小孩. The same is true for 老头, 面条, 一点儿, 一会儿. The written form may use two Chinese characters, but the pronunciation merges them into one syllable. In the official Mandarin proficiency testing materials, there are around 200 common words where this suffix is treated as part of standard pronunciation. So, when you hear someone use 话音 in words like 一点儿 or 在哪儿, do not immediately assume they are speaking Beijing dialect. They may simply be speaking standard Mandarin. However, this doesn't mean every sound you hear is a standard. In Beijing speech and in some northern varieties of Chinese, people may use the suffix much more often than standard Mandarin requires. That kind of a frequent or playful use can sound local, informal, or strongly northern. Standard Mandarin uses 话音 in specific words and contexts. It doesn't mean you can add to any word you like. So, we need to separate two things. Standard 话音, which belongs to Mandarin pronunciation, and local overuse of 话音, which may sound like a Beijing or Northern dialect speech. Now, how should English speakers pronounce it? Many English speakers, especially from North America, naturally use an English-style R sound when they see the letter R in pinyin. That is understandable, and in most cases, it will not block communication. But if you want a more accurate Mandarin sound, here are two things to watch. First, do not round your lips. In English, the R sound often comes with a lip rounding. In Mandarin, 话音 keep the lips relaxed and unrounded. Second, do not pronounce as a separate syllable after the word. The tongue curls slightly upward while you are still producing the main vowel. It is not vowel first then it is one fused sound. Try this. 花儿. No, not 花儿, it's 花儿. 一点儿, not 一点儿. 一会儿, not 一会儿. There's one important exception. Sometimes is not a suffix. It is an independent syllable with its own meaning. For example, 儿子, 耳朵, 2月, 而且. In these words, is not attached to the previous syllable as a suffix. It is its own syllable, and you should pronounce it clearly. When you pronounce these meaningful syllables, the tongue should be a little bit more tense. They are longer than suffix and they carry tones. So we need two categories. Independent syllables like 儿子、耳朵、2月 and suffix like 花儿、小孩、一点儿. They are related in spelling, but they behave differently in pronunciation. The detailed sound changes can be complicated, but the main idea is simple. The suffix must fit onto the end of the previous syllable. If the final sound of syllable is easy to combine with the original vowel mostly stays. For example, 号码、山坡、饭盒、鲜花. But if the syllable ends in I, N, or NG, the ending of the vowel often changes or disappears because those endings don't combine smoothly with the curled tongue position. For example, 一块 is written 一块 but in actual pronunciation it sounds closer to 一块. 树根 is written 树根儿 but the N is not pronounced as a full N. It becomes 树根儿. 冰棍 is written 冰棍儿 but in speech it becomes 冰棍儿. So it's just U and 棍儿. You don't have to memorize every rule today. For practical learning, just remember this. Do not read the spelling mechanically. Listen for the merged sound. Now, let's make this practical. Here are 3 things you should not do. Number 1, do not pronounce 儿化音 as 2 separate syllables. 一会儿 should be one smooth pronunciation, not 一会儿. Number 2, do not randomly add 儿 to every daily life word. Yes, 儿 can sometimes make a word sound lighter, softer, or more colloquial, like 宝贝儿、小鸟、花瓶. But these forms are conventional. Native speakers do not simply add 儿 everywhere. If you say, 今天我有点累, that sounds strange because 累 is not normally used that way. Number 3, avoid 儿化音 in formal or serious context when the word doesn't require it. For example, at a formal banquet, saying 我喜欢这个凉菜 may sound too casual, but in daily life, it is natural to say 我们做2个小凉菜. So, the question is not only can this word take 儿, the better question is, does this word commonly take 儿 in this context? Sometimes 儿化音 is not just a pronunciation detail. It can affect the meaning. For example, 没门 means no way. There's no chance. Absolutely not. But 没门 without 儿 can literally mean there's no door. Of course, context matters, but this example shows why 儿化音 is worth learning. It is not just the decoration. It can be part of the word. Let's practice a few common words. Repeat after me. 这儿 那儿 哪儿 一点儿 一会儿 小孩 男孩 女孩 没门 Again, the goal is not to sound like a Beijinger. The goal is to understand and use standard Mandarin more accurately. 儿化音 is not just a Beijing accent. It is not always optional, and it is not a separate syllable. It is a Mandarin suffix that merges with the syllable before it. If you want to learn more about the suffix, or you have any questions about Mandarin, let me know in the comment. In the next video, we'll look at another English word that learners often translate too directly. How to say sorry properly in Mandarin. See you next time. 下次见。